Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the PulseWave Report with yours truly, the Algo Capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from PulseWaveTrading.com, home of the world famous PulseWave Price Trigger Reports. So, MLK Day is now behind us, and we start off with very interesting news. President-elect Biden is already acting presidential again. He has the votes now to push through a multi-trillion-dollar bill that is supposedly going to give everybody $2,000. For that to be the first thing he does is very telling. Not only that, but he's doing a whole bunch of other things too, such as getting the United States back into that Paris Accord. All right. Just doing a lot of things to quicken and hasten the economic death of the United States of America. Now, you have to really go into this with your eyes wide open, whether you voted for him or not. But you can't make this stuff up. You gotta follow the money. And we have a situation now where the government is spending $250 million just to manipulate you. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Is this authoritarian Vietnam or the United States? For-profit pharmaceutical giants assure us that they have no ulterior motives as they try to calm legitimate concerns people have about unproven vaccine technology. Pfizer expects to make $19 billion in pure profit off of its mRNA COVID vaccine alone in 2021, with the backstop of the federal government giving them immunity and being held blameless if people get sick and or die from said vaccine. Now, the windfall profit does violate the frequent and much parroted no profit pledges that the major drug producing firms pursuing market access made in 2020. Now, the vaccine makers' efforts to maximize profit, though, have hit a snag. A large minority of American citizens don't trust the word profiteers who lie about their profiteering and anything else they need to further their own interests. Now, the 40% of the American people who remain rightly skeptical about taking untested vaccines to supposedly prevent a virus with the 99+% survival rate have not budged in resisting the vaccine. The ruling class had hoped that they would have succumbed to the pressures to do so by now. Now, if you're among that brave minority concerned about unconstitutional vaccine mandates, Health and Human Services has plans to change your mind, one way or another. Now, criticism of anyone who hesitates to embrace COVID vaccines with religious zeal has been steadily building since the earliest days of the planned scamdemic. In April of last year, Mark Sussman, the top officer at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, found it distressing that there are people spreading misinformation when we should all be looking for ways to collaborate and save lives. Again, last time I checked, neither Bill nor Melinda Gates were virologists. Now, with the vaccine rollout stated as frontline healthcare workers refuse the vaccine en masse, efforts to turn the tide have intensified. In an interview with the Daily Beast, the heart of corporate state darkness, last month, the unelected public health czar, Anthony Fauci, said of this unwelcome defiance, quote, "My primary biggest fear is that a substantial proportion of the people will be hesitant to get vaccinated. I think there are going to be many people who don't want to get vaccinated. Something obviously has to give. At this point, a reasonable observer would note the need for more evidence, more time to research the long-term effects of mRNA vaccines, data which is non-existent, and more empathy in addressing the root cause of the massive distrust of the American people in the pharmaceutical industrial complex machine. Now, none of those remedies are in effect. Instead, we are treated to more propaganda, as if the thousands of hours of gaslighting on cable news or the millions of words printed in the New York Times or USA Today attempting to shame the public into submission have produced their desired effects in the past. Well, enter the Health and Human Services. Now, the publicly funded federal bureaucracy, Health and Human Services, is in the midst of a $250 million propaganda campaign aimed squarely at the average American. The aim of the effort is to convince you that the experimental mRNA vaccine just developed this past year at warp speed by Pfizer and Moderna, the Bill Gates affiliated pharmaceutical startup, that they're telling you this is safe. No. Try to find a single lonely artifact of journalism in a major media outlet that offers a skeptical or even neutral or objective take on Bill Gates' vaccine. You know what? They don't exist. You can't find it. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, follow the money. Such opinions are blasphemy to the church of the neoliberal corporatocracy. Anyone who expresses skepticism, likewise, is persona non grata. The just the facts man, Walter Cronkite days of media that treats its readers and viewers as sovereign adults are long gone. The primary role of the media in 2021 is to gaslight, obfuscate, misdirect, pacify, and otherwise manipulate its audience, all while pretending to care deeply about the welfare of the very people that they are abusing. I guess it goes like a little something like this. Tell me how many of you remember hearing this. This is going to hurt me a lot more than it hurts you. Really. So let not the irony slide that you are paying for your own abuse through taxation and debt. The 2020 Health and Human Services budget exceeded $1 trillion. It grows annually with the number of spending justifications offered by HSS. Addressing the opioid crisis, promoting patient-centered healthcare, strengthening services for American Indians and Alaskan Natives, encouraging innovation in America's healthcare future, addressing high drug prices, reforming the department's regulations, and generally focusing resources toward proven and effective initiatives. That is a quote directly from HSS. Now, generally focusing resources toward proven and effective initiatives? What? Do mRNA vaccines, which have zero clinical evidence of their long-term effectiveness or safety, qualify as proven in the judgment of HSS? Of course. What proven and effective means to the bureaucrats who run HSS and the private sector profiteers who run them is not the same as the term's connotations to the normal people. The Moderna and Pfizer, the only settled proven issue related to their experimental vaccines is that they are set to generate billions of dollars in cash revenue with the added bonus that the government got your back, you are immune from prosecution, and held harmless of liability if people get sick and are maimed, injured, or die. Now, with the added bonus of being worshipped by CNN and Politico for their utter heroism in bringing their golden tickets to market, interestingly, Despite the ironclad promises of safety from the manufacturers, those same pharmaceutical firms saw the necessity of securing total immunity from legal responsibility for death or serious injury produced by their products. Quote, the declaration provides liability immunity to certain individuals and entities referred to as covered persons against any claim of loss caused by, arising out of, relating to, or resulting from the manufacture, testing, development, distribution, administration, and or use of COVID-19 medical countermeasures, covered countermeasures, end quote. See the legalese, see the legal gymnastics they like to do? How they like to play with words and get you all tossed up with words, get you caught up with words. Now, the February the 4th of 2020 edit, which incidentally was produced at lightning speed long before even the potential side effects of future vaccines were theorized, was issued by none other than Health and Human Services, the same government entity now spending $250 million to convince you that COVID-19 vaccines are safe. Irony of ironies, HSS creates unprecedented legal protections so its clients are not responsible for the death and injury that they will surely cause, then go on to lament the lack of trust or goodwill among the public. This is the worst of the merger of corporate and state power, which is fascism, and one more glaring incitement to resist the incoming administration and its corporate overlords at all cost. Ladies and gentlemen, it should be obviously clear to you by now that 2020 was the elite's big move. We're entering the climax of a long-planned crisis. Your family, your community, and your countrymen need honest leaders to guide them out of the elite's traps. I warned you to vote independent, and you didn't listen to me. Now it's too late. I told you to vote out every Democrat, every Republican, and you didn't listen to me. Now it's too late. I told you to vote independent in every ticket, state and local government, and for the country's election, and they didn't do it. You didn't do it. And because you didn't do it, now America is dying, and it's your fault because you didn't listen. You didn't listen. And now to make matters worse, they want to make Janet Yellen the Treasury Secretary. Yeah. See what I'm saying? Do you see now? You can't make this stuff up. She's going to be speaking at a hearing here shortly. How do you make the ex-chairman of the Federal Reserve now make them Treasury Secretary? Do you know that the Federal Reserve, they are not government employees? The Federal Reserve is not an arm of the government. They are not a government agency. They are a private, for-profit corporation. And now you're going to put them as the head of the Treasury? Someone with strong ties to the Fed is now going to be the Treasury Secretary? Do you see the cycle of corruption that is destroying the country? Just like when you take CEOs of pharmaceutical companies and put them as the head of the FDA. Remember? How many people has Monsanto, how many people did they have as head of the FDA? This is corruption on just a monumental level, not to mention the conflict of interest. Unbelievable. Now, I think the reason why all this has happened is because we've witnessed, along with all this other corruptive practices, we've also witnessed the death of critical thinking in America. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The death of critical thought has been a slow and painful process won by 1,000 cuts rather than one ushered in overnight, but certainly one that is prevalent around the world today. It's one of the most difficult debates one can ever have with another person, is to convince someone that he or she does not understand something that he or she firmly believes he or she understands. And such misguided delusions lead to delusional arguments. So where do you go to school? Sound familiar? Usually such empty calorie questions are posed by graduates from the elite schools around the world in hopes that they can browbeat a person into conceding to them based on academic pedigree alone. Academic pedigree has nothing to do with critical thinking skills unless one attended a specialized school focused solely on critical thinking. Did you know that? As a matter of fact, some of the world's worst atrocities were committed with people with high intellect, high IQ, and went to Ivy League school. Got the best education. Did you know that? And the next question you normally hear, so what did you major in? Yeah, possession of an analytical major or even a science major degree does not necessarily mean one possesses strong critical thinking skills, i.e. Dr. Fauci or the WHO is a prime example of an uneducated person that has a medical degree, as he is an endless abyss of misinformation regarding things he has said about the current virus used to lock down economies around the world, to once even stating that HIV transmission could happen through casual contact, like touching the skin or shaking hands with an infected person. Now, if you're old enough to remember when HIV was a novel virus, not yet well understood because the science behind it was still theoretical, millions of people were terrified of being around people that were infected with HIV, specifically due to charlatans like Fauci that spread false speculations about people potentially contacting HIV from infected people through casual contact with infected people. History will prove to be 100% right about condemning Fauci for spreading as much misinformation about this current virus as he once did about HIV. Not because he has any interest in what in our best interest, but specifically because his misinformation helps solidify the agenda of the black-hearted oligarchs from whom he works. Not to mention the conflict of interest that he has been financially enriched by these big pharmaceutical giants. Now, you think you know more than Warren Buffett or Jamie Dimon? This argument is a fallacy of logic that equates to the accumulation of material wealth and intellect, even though there is zero correlation between wealth and intellect. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, correlation does not equal causation. Such an argument also indicates a complete lack of understanding of the rigid economic and banking system and a delusional belief that we all operate, rich and poor, on a level playing field with equal opportunity provided to all. And finally, a fallacious argument we've heard repeated dozens of times within the past year, repeated by those who tend to be delusional about their level of intellect. Or how about this one? You can't argue with science. I'm quoting science. So that's a fact, whereas you're quoting an opinion. Really? Let's define your science that you're clinging to. Any real scientist would laugh at this above statement, as every scientist, no matter the field of study, realizes that there is an immense amount of knowledge in their field that is theoretical, with no absolute evidence of its factual basis, and that science is and always has been an evolving field of knowledge with theories previously believed to have been true, constantly upgraded, transformed, and sometimes even fully discredited as the research and knowledge about certain theories become greater over time. Consequently, the irony is that almost none of the talking heads we've seen in the mass media over the past 12 months that have used the quote unquote science argument to falsely claim they were stating facts to try to discredit any narrative that opposed or provided dissent to their tyrannical lockdown efforts were actually scientists, but rather narcissists with inflated opinions and egos of their intellect that fail to understand that as an evolutionary field of study, many scientific statements have to remain open to debate and dissent to arrive at truth. It's called the marketplace of ideas, if you haven't heard of it, as many scientists' statements only represent the prevailing opinion at that time that is subject to significant changes and updates in light of new and better information that may be discovered at a future time. So consequently, by appealing to so-called science in their argument to shut down dissent, these narcissists and frankly quite dumb oligarchs were shutting down the scientific process that would best lead to truth, and instead using a quote unquote science argument to forward beliefs that only best serve their interests. It's shocking, I know. Shockingly, as dumb as these oligarchs are, the audience to whom they appeal are often dumber, as the audience ingests and internalizes all of their non-scientific information passed off as science that is instead truly pure propaganda being used in the name of science. We call that scientism. It's the art and science of scientific disinformation and deception. Now, in this situation that we have found ourselves in, like I said, find me anyone on mainstream media that has been speaking objectively or even showing any dissent to it. Think about it. If one possesses the type of uncritical mind in which one can be led to unquestioningly embrace a false narrative that is created about this virus and then widely disseminated by mass media across the world, then one will undoubtedly embrace false narratives created by bankers and politicians, created by the types of people that meet in Davos, Switzerland, to direct global financial policy and believe all the misinformation they spread as fact. One cannot have a critical mindset in finance and have an uncritical mindset when it comes to medicine, the virus, and health issues. Either one possesses a critical mindset or one possesses a compliant, obedient mindset that always blindly believes narratives spread by those in power and by so-called authority figures like Fauci. For example, as an example of a financial lie embraced by the majority of people even today, most people still falsely believe that if their boss gives them a 7% raise in annual salary, that given no change in spending habits from year to year, that this 7% raise in salary make them wealthier versus the prior year. In other words, because they cannot or will not question the 1.5% to 2% inflation rates constantly provided by the banking class as the actual inflation rates in many Western and European nations, even though those fake rates should be so obviously fake to the critical mind, they don't understand how one's quality of life and wealth can be constantly degrading even when they keep earning more and more money every subsequent year. Do the math. Do the mathematics to that. Do the science to that. You got to wake up, people, and do the knowledge to things. Critical thinking is dead. And I think the past election proves it. All right? You want more proof? How about this one? Did you know that a lobby group is now suing Apple to remove Telegram from its app store for allowing hate speech? That's right. A lobby group is suing Apple in an effort to get free speech messaging platform Telegram removed from the App Store, claiming that it allows extremists to spread hate speech. Telegram is seeing a surge in users since Twitter and Facebook permanently suspended President Trump last week. The service gained more than 25 million new users in about 72 hours, taking the total users to over 500 million. That's a half a billion people. The platform promotes itself as a service that believes in free speech and a strong privacy ethic, often polarizing itself from the likes of Facebook-owned WhatsApp and Microsoft-owned Skype. Now, amid calls for the platform to be restricted, lobby group the Coalition for a Safer Web has called for it to be completely deleted from big tech app stores. In particular, the group has filed a lawsuit against Apple, alleging that it has failed to hold Telegram accountable for violating its terms of service. The complaint filed in the U.S. District Court of North Carolina accuses Telegram of allowing anti-Semites, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists to use the platform to foment hate. Telegram currently serves as the preferred neo-Nazi white nationalist communications channel, fanning anti-Semitic and anti-Black incitement during the current wave of protests across America, the lawsuit claims. It also states that extremists are set to migrate to Telegram in bigger numbers following Apple, Google, and Amazon's attempts to white collar off the internet completely. The lawsuit further alleged that Telegram is currently being used to coordinate and incite extreme violence before an inauguration of President-elect Biden. The Coalition for a Safer Web's president, Mark Ginsburg, who is a former U.S. ambassador to Morocco and deputy senior advisor to the U.S. president on Middle East policy, has claimed that by continuing to host Telegram on the Apple App Store, the defendant Apple facilitates religious threats against him and his family that has caused Ambassador Ginsburg to fear for his life. Really? The lawsuit points to the purging of Parler as a precedent, noting that Apple has not taken any action against Telegram comparable to the action it has taken against Parler to compel Telegram to improve its content moderation policies. The group, which also has a Council on Foreign Relations executive, again, this same group, which has a Council on Foreign Relations executive, Council on Foreign Relations, the lobby group that is suing Apple, connected to the Council on Foreign Relations, the Council on Foreign Relations executive, a former chairman of the RNC, Republican National Convention, and the former Homeland Security Chief, former Homeland Security Chief, Council on Foreign Relations Executive, Chairman for the RNC, on its advisory board, is also said to be preparing a lawsuit against Google for the same purpose of targeting Telegram. So now you have fake lobbyist groups. Let's break this down. Give me 1 second. Okay, so basically what you have here, normally with a lobbyist place, a special interest place, it's normally, corporations that are trying to get certain laws passed, rules, regulations, whatever, because they're trying to do some things and that they would like the government's blessing to do it. All right. But in this case, you have a lobbying group. There's not really a lobbying group. And it's not really a special interest group. All right. It's basically the government creating a lobby group to go after certain corporations to make them do the government's dirty work. Instead of the government itself cracking down, they want to sue people, sue free speech out of existence. If you can just threaten enough people with the threat of a lawsuit, right, you can shut down the people that you want to target. In this case, they want to target Telegram. Going after one company wasn't enough. They want to shut down all the alternative sites and scrub them off the web so that you can't use them. They don't want free speech. They want controlled speech. All right. So again, this particular group, all right, so, after Parler got purged off the internet last week, now this same group, which has on its board an executive from the Council on Foreign Relations, former chairman of the RNC, former Homeland Security chief on its advisory board. All government, all shadow government. While Telegram has positioned itself against the big tech behemoths, it has made efforts to remove neo-Nazi channels from its platform in recent months. This is where we are. I told you they were coming for your U.S. Constitution and your Bill of Rights. I told you they were coming for your liberties. Say goodbye to your liberties. They want your free speech now. They want to take that away. Remember, they're using China as their model. They're using China as their model. The U.S. is seeking to go communist, full-blown communist. All right? And they're trying to find nice euphemisms to avoid the real definition, which is communist. All right? Socialist, communist, Marxist, all under the same umbrella. It's all the same thing. All right? It's fascism. All right? Where the state owns everything. There, you don't know where a corporation begins and the government ends. They're one and the same. Either the state owns all the companies or they've merged and they work with and cooperate with the government against the people. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is happening right in front of you. So now they're using neo-Nazis and white supremacists. They're using that as their base, as their foundation to come after free speech. See, because if they say, well, we're going after neo-Nazis and, we're going after white supremacists, surely you don't have a problem with us doing that, do you? Because, white supremacists, they've been dogging you. They've been saying how they hate, they hate people of color. They hate the Jews. They hate black people. They hate everybody that's not them. Surely you don't have a problem, okay, with us going after them, taking them off the internet and off of these apps. Surely you don't have a problem with that. Surely you don't have a problem with that. And ladies and gentlemen, yes, you should have a problem with that. Remember a few minutes ago, we were talking about the death of critical thinking? Use your thinking caps, put on your thinking caps. Is it really a good thing that they go after white supremacists and neo-Nazis? Anyone that has an alternative viewpoint, an alternative belief system, is that really a good thing? Do you want that to happen? Because remember, if you allow them to get away with quieting and the voices of dissension that you don't agree with, that means you're next. See, no one's batting an eye. Oh, that's just a hate group. That's just a hate group. They hate gays. They hate blacks. They hate Latinos. They hate Mexicans. They hate everybody. They hate. They hate everybody. Yeah, get them off. Get them up out of there. No, ladies and gentlemen. See, you fell for the okey doke. That's not what they're after. They don't care about white supremacists. You think this government cares about white supremacists? No, they don't. They're just using them as a Trojan horse to take away your free speech, period. You cannot sit idly by and let this happen. You cannot let this happen. You can't. Neo-Nazis and skinheads and white supremacist organizations, doesn't matter. Free, they all have a right to say what they want to say. They all have a right to say what they want to say. That's what free speech is. You have your opinions. You have your worldview. Okay, that's fine. You have your belief system. Okay, so let's all come to the marketplace of ideas where we can share what we believe and why we believe it and have open debate about it. That's what the marketplace of ideas is. You see what I'm saying? So if you allow them to shut down the marketplace, then guess what? You can forget about ideas. Because that's what free speech is. Free speech allows ideas to flourish. You cannot allow this to happen, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot allow this to happen. All right? This is really stupid. Don't allow this to happen. The white supremacists have every right to say what they say and use their free speech. You don't have to like it or agree with them, but they have a right to do that. We all have freedom of speech. If they can't talk about their beliefs as a white supremacist, then how can you talk about your beliefs regardless of what they are? I love alligators. Well, I like salamanders. Well, I like cardinals. Well, I like spiders. Nope, none of you can say that because that's hate speech. The fact that you said you like crocodiles is hate speech against me liking birds because crocodiles eat my birds. So that's hate speech. You see what a slippery slope this is, ladies and gentlemen? This is what you need to be really focusing on, not all that other nonsense. Critical thinking, ladies and gentlemen. Critical thinking. Meanwhile, Parler reemerged on the internet this past Sunday after Amazon unceremoniously wiped it from its hosting servers. Parler chief executive John Mates posted a message on Parler.com asking, "Hello world, is this thing on? Now seems like the right time to remind you all, both lovers and haters, why we started this platform." Mates further wrote, adding, "We believe privacy is paramount and free speech essential, especially on social media. Our aim has always been to provide a nonpartisan public square where individuals can enjoy and exercise their rights to both. We will resolve any challenge before us and plan to welcome all of you back soon. We will not let civil discourse perish," he further noted. All right. However, the site now appears to be offline again. It appears that Parler is now being hosted by Epic, the company that also hosts Twitter, Alternative Gab, and message board 8chan. Epic has stated that it disagrees with big tech's moves to purge the likes of Parler, noting it is becoming increasingly easy to demonize anyone who has different beliefs with no recognition of the actual effects and impact this can have on society. What? Someone's actually using critical thinking here. Wow. The company's statement immediately led to calls for it to be targeted for annihilation, along with other hosting companies that are refusing to go along with mass censorship on the internet. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a problem. The end point of the ongoing purge seems clear. A completely censored internet dominated and controlled by unregulated big tech elites where only acceptable opinions can be accessed and shared. Removing neo-Nazi and terrorist channels is one thing. However, when that encompasses blanketing, banning everyone else along with them, and completely removing platforms and websites, free speech no longer exists. And no, it is not a good thing to remove neo-Nazi channels. And when you say terrorist, you can't compare a neo-Nazi with a terrorist. Terrorists are people who plan and or carry out and or participate in and or financially fund, encourage, or otherwise terrorist acts on the civilian people. That's what that's about. All right. So if XYZ group says we should bomb so-and-so, we should set fire to so-and-so, we should kill all so-and-sos. If a group says that, then yeah, now that's terrorist, because those are terrorist threats. Or if you, with your money, knowingly finance and support organizations that are carrying out violence and destruction, then yeah, that will make you a terrorist because you're terrorizing the citizenry. All right? That's a difference. I could see you saying we're gonna shut that down because that's not free speech. That's insurrection. That's something totally different. We're not talking about insurrection. We're talking about free speech. We're talking about the right to question your government. We're talking about the right to question corporations. We're talking about the right to question everything, debate everything. All right? They're trying to take that away. And they're using the neo-Nazi, white supremacists as a foundation for their Trojan horse to take away free speech in America. And you can't let that happen. So this is where we are, you guys. The death of critical thought is upon us. And when critical thought dies, well, your rights and freedoms are soon to follow. So with that being said, you guys, you know what it is. Smash that like button. You know what it is we do here. Remember, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. If you're not using the PulseWave reports, you need to get that PulseWave report, man. Get those daily PulseWave reports so you can know what's going on, so that you can know what, where, why, and how, and when, so you can get in here and be forewarned when things are about to move, when things are about to go down. All right? You don't want to be on the sidelines, on the outside looking in, okay? And yeah, we're looking into having backup channels and stuff now. Just remember this too, you guys. You can always go to a site and download software. So as long as the site exists, you can download software. You can hook your phone up to your computer, and you should be able to transfer that file to your phone and still have the app. Because I'm going to tell you what's going to end up happening. And if that doesn't work, the next thing is what people are going to be on the dark web and the deep dark web. That's where they're going to have to, that's what people are going to start doing things. You're not going to be able to shut down freedom. People are always going to seek freedom where it's lacking, but where it does not exist, people are always going to want it. You can't control grown people, adults. You can't tell a grown man or a grown woman what to think. You can't do it. It's not going to happen. There's always going to be rebellion when tyranny is rising. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for y'all today. Smash that like button and come on over to PulseWaveTrading.com and get your reports right now. And I'm out. Peace.